because I've tried to poke fun at being a dumb kid.
Right. That's what I was going to talk about.
And whenever I've done that, it gets twisted into I'm talking shit about somebody who I don't even know anymore, who's clearly a grown up. Like,
right.
I think you have to like laugh at who you used to be. But when people ask me about history that involves someone else,
right.
Unfortunately, like it's not even unfortunate. Yeah. It's just it's not worth my time.
Right.
It's not a place where I harbor, ill will
and it can't come out right.
It never does.
Right.
And I've tried to do the thing where when I get stuck live on the air, which has happened to me twice, getting asked about it, where I like give a little like, ha, like jazz hands quip and move on. And it just doesn't work. So I'm not going to. I was a very naive 21-year-old kid.
Well, I think that you said something where when you got married, you go in to get married because you think you're going to be married once.
Oh, Michael, we're not really going to talk about this, are we?
No, I'm just thinking, I think that though, that's why I'm single. The reason I brought it up, hear me out.
Okay.
Is because I think I've seen so much dysfunction in my family. You haven't, maybe?
I think every family has seen.
But I've seen extreme
a lot of dysfunction.
My sister's married 5 times.
Wow.
Mother 3 times. A lot of different things. So I feel that, fuck, man, I'm not getting married until it's the one. And that might sound naive, but that's why I think I've waited so long.
Yeah, I get that. But you know what I think? Look, I think lots of people do stupid shit before their prefrontal cortexes are fully formed, and they're not until they're 26.
Right.
So you do the math on my timeline. I literally didn't have a whole brain. So I have like humor and grace for like being a kid and, having the experience that I had. But I also think we're at a really interesting time where we're looking at systems in general. And marriage, I learned so much about it reading Elizabeth Gilbert's book, Committed. And one of the things I thought was so interesting, and I read it years ago, so I won't have the facts perfect for you, which I like to, but here we are. But she essentially talks about how there's early evidence of the church trying to ban marriage. Because you were not, as a member of the faithful, supposed to be devoted to anyone but God. And then they realized they couldn't keep people from getting married. People in villages and towns were just doing this thing. So then they said the only recognized marriage is in the church. So we have to look at what our motivations are, what the politics are. Churches, by the way, are so political. It's crazy to me they don't pay taxes. Again, separate conversation. But, it used to be that the person on this farm and the person on this farm would get married so they could join farms, and there was a dowry and somebody got like livestock and like really weird patriarchal nonsense. And now we're in this time where as many, if not more women in our country anyway, are the breadwinners of their household. People want to build families. They want to have kids. They want to have these experiences that I think we all deeply romanticize. Mm-hmm. And you look at a divorce rate of over 50%. It's really complicated.
Yep.
It's something like, and this was a stat I read a few years ago, so I'd be curious to know if the numbers are the same now, but 72% of men cheat on their wives, followed by 41% and
Wait, how
growing.
many? 72% of men cheat on their wives.
If I remember the stat correctly, and followed by and growing 41% of women who are now cheating on their husbands. I know we're just talking about heteronormative relationships, but that's the stat that I read. And that number is growing as more and more women become the economic leaders of their households. And so I think overall, we have to have a much more real conversation as a society and within our own romantic relationships and our friendships with, our friends who are likely in romantic relationships of their own. What are our motivations? Like, what are we looking for? I grew up on Disney movies and watching rom-coms and went to an all-girl school. I was the prime, like right out of the cartoon factory candidate for like a fairy tale ideal of young love. Come on, like it wrote itself.